So conservation and ecotourism company Wilderness Safaris has a market cap of 808.5 million rand. They operate camps and safaris in Botswana, Namibia, Malawi, South Africa, Zambia, Zimbabwe and the Seychelles. Wilderness has a price to earnings ratio of 91 and a dividend yield of 2.7%. It's a growth story here, Paul, we're talking about. Just recently listed, well, moved from the Altex to the main board.
Correct, and it lists its main sort of base in Botswana, reports its number in Pula and so on. But look, this is the series of wilderness safari lodges in all those fancy sort of ecotourism destinations. Lovely, targeting the upper end of the target market in terms of high price, pristine environments. They typically build lodges which get removed after 18 months, leaving no footprint. The idea being people want to go to different places and so on and so forth. The trouble is that it's got highly variable earnings, because when the globe is going through a recession or air tickets are too high, then they have a big fall off in sales. And when things are going well, then they do well. So the earnings have been rather variable. The dividend was held in the most recent results, but they went from some big number to some small number. Nobody could quite figure out why. I mean, I like the guys. Andy Payne's a very talented CEO. Malcolm McCulloch, the chairman's a friend of mine. And the places are great to go to. But as a listed entity, I can't really understand why they listed it, other than perhaps to raise its visibility.
Why do you think they had listed it, Chris?
As Paul says, this was listed in a flurry of activity a couple of years ago. And from that perspective, they did reasonably well. I think they could have perhaps raised the profile a bit higher. But I think this is a great company. It's a brilliant idea, a brilliant concept. But unfortunately, one of the things that's held it back in the past year or so has been the strong rand and the strong pula. Now, with the rand tanking the way it is, and if that's going to carry on, that may be good for Wilderness in the longer term.
So where to from here for Wilderness, Paul?
Well, they indicated also in the recent results that they were spending quite a lot of money on capital development, which is probably new lodges, plus like installing solar panels on the roof of existing ones to avoid dependence on grid power and all that kind of thing. So I think that could also have been part of the reason why the earnings were so variable. They've got stable shareholders. For example, 20% of the shares belong to the Germans who own Puma and Adidas. You can imagine how much money they've got. Plus a few other, sort of playboy investors that like coming to visit the lodges. So I guess they'll probably do okay. But I don't know.
Looking at the share price.
No, exactly. And with all of the variability and the Pula thing and the exchange rates and the dollar sensitivity.
So you say no, because of all of that.
Yeah, unless you had some sort of inside track and you knew what they were about to do. But I expect they'll do okay. And their big competitor in this region is the old Conservation Corporation, which is now known as At Beyond, which belongs to the Entovens, So they're probably going through the same thing. I know they were complaining about their business not being high margin enough also. So, I almost sense these kinds of businesses should belong to like Bill Gates or Richard Branson or something. Then you don't have to bother with the sort of indignities of having to report your results in the press. I mean, really.
Looking at the ecotourism side of things, Chris, is that likely to perhaps bring in more earnings for them going forward?
I think so, but that's a long-term prospect. And as Paul says, I think from the shareholder perspective, these guys will probably be around for a long time. I'm just not entirely sure why they're listed.
So hot or not in this one?
Nope, not hot.
Paul?
No, not hot for me either, sadly.
So two not hots on Wilderness.